And welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you two methods for adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. Now, the first method involves extending fractions. So if extending fractions is something you're not quite familiar with yet, I recommend that you watch my video on extending fractions where I explain how that's done. So our first example, we're going to add 3 over 5 and 2 over 6. Now, when you're adding fractions with different denominators, now that means that the number on the bottom of each fraction is not the same. We can extend both fractions until both fractions have the same denominator. And we can go ahead and determine what the denominator of our final answer is going to be by multiplying our denominators by each other. So 5 multiplied by 6 equals 30. Now we have the denominator of our final answer, and also we can see that we need to extend both of our fractions to a denominator of 30. So let's do that starting with 3 over 5. And we're going to start with the denominator. We're going to extend 5 to 30. And we need to do that by multiplying 5 by a number. So what number can we multiply 5 by to equal 30? Well, that question can be answered by dividing 30 by 5. So 30 divided by 5 equals 6. So now we have the number we need to extend our fraction 3 over 5 to a denominator of 30. So 5 times 6 is 30. And we also need to multiply our numerator by that same number. It's important that we multiply our numerator by the same number we multiply our denominator by, so that we keep the same value of our fraction that it had originally. So 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. So now that we've extended our first fraction to a denominator of 30, let's do the same for our next fraction, 2 over 6. So let's ask ourselves the same question. What can we multiply our denominator 6 by to equal 30? Well, that question can be answered by dividing 30 by 6. And 30 divided by 6 equals 5. So now we have our number that we need to extend our fraction 2 over 6 to a denominator of 30. 6 multiplied by 5 is 30, and we multiply our numerator by the same number, 5, and 2 times 5 is 10. So now we've extended both of our fractions. And now that we have common denominators, we can add our numerators. 18 plus 10 equals 28. And when we have the same denominator, we do not need to add them. We keep the same number in our final answer. So 18 over 30 plus 10 over 30 equals 28 over 30. Now you can probably see that this fraction can be reduced. If reducing fractions is something you're not yet familiar with, you can watch my video where I explain how that's done on reducing fractions. But to reduce fractions, we need to divide numerator and denominator by the same number. In this case, 28 and 30 can be divided by 2. 28 divided by 2 is 14, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. Now, this fraction has been reduced to its simplest form. Let's try another one. This time we're going to subtract 12 over 28 from 4 over 7. Now remember, we need to create common denominators. And we can do that by extending our fractions until both fractions have the same denominator. But before we extend both of our fractions, notice that one of our fractions has a denominator that's a lot larger than the other. So let's try to extend one fraction to a denominator of the other fraction. So that means we're going to try to extend 4 over 7 to a denominator of 28. To see if that's possible, let's divide 28 by 7. 28 divided by 7 equals 4. So that means we have a number that we can extend 4 over 7 to a denominator of 28. So let's do that. 7 multiplied by 4 equals 28. We're going to multiply our numerator by that same answer. 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. So now you can see that we only needed to extend one fraction. So if you're adding or subtracting fractions and one fraction has a denominator that's a lot larger than the other, first try to extend the smaller denominator to the larger denominator. Now that we've done that, we can subtract our numerators. So 16 minus 12 equals 4. And again, we have common denominators, so it's going to stay the same. Also, this fraction can be reduced. 4 over 28, both numbers can be divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. So 16 over 28 minus 12 over 28 equals 4 over 28, which can be reduced to 1 over 7. Now let's try that second method. In this method, which is commonly known as the butterfly method, we're going to do the same thing as the previous method, where we create a denominator for our final answer, which is done by multiplying both denominators. So 4 multiplied by 10. Now that we have the denominator of our final answer, in this method, we're going to cross multiply, which means we're going to multiply the denominator of each fraction by the numerator of the other fraction. So I'm going to start by multiplying 10 by 1. 10 multiplied by 1 is 10. And 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. Now, the operation happening between both of these fractions is addition. So that means we're going to add the numbers that we just calculated. So 10 plus 12 is 22. So our final answer is 22 over 40. But of course, this fraction can be reduced. So let's do that. Both numerator and denominator can be divided by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So 1 over 4 plus 3 over 10 equals 22 over 40, which can be reduced to 11 over 20. Okay, let's try one more using this method. This time we're going to subtract 2 over 3 and 5 over 8. So first, let's multiply our denominators. 3 multiplied by 8 is 24, which will be the denominator of our final answer. And next, we're going to cross multiply. 8 multiplied by 2 is 16, and 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. And the operation happening between both fractions is subtraction. So we're going to subtract our answers that we just calculated. 16 minus 15 equals 1. So 2 over 3 minus 5 over 8 equals 1 over 24. And as you can see, this fraction cannot be reduced. Okay, so these are two methods that you can use when adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.